I never thought humiliation could taste like champagne, but that night it did. The clinking of glasses still echoes in my head, sharp and mocking, as if every crystal rim were laughing at me. We were at the university hall my partner had just finished their MBA. The place smelled of perfume cologne and expensive catering, the kind of gathering where everyone carries themselves like they're auditioning for a commercial. I sat near the head table, fingers brushing over a thick envelope from my bank. Inside was proof that I had cleared my student loans with my own savings, nearly $200,000 gone in one stroke of discipline and sacrifice. That envelope was my quiet pride, until my partner decided to speak. They rose, smiling too brightly, and tapped the glass for attention. In 2 weeks, they said, voice carrying across the room, I'll be away on a self-discovery trip with my ex. A ripple of whispers cut through the hall. My chest tightened. Before I could register, they added with a little laugh, don't worry. Some people will never understand true ambition. Their eyes swept over me, quick and dismissive, like a teacher grading a failing student. I gripped the envelope harder, feeling the edges bite into my palm. People chuckled nervously. Some avoided looking at me altogether. The music started again as if nothing had happened. My partner kissed my cheek like it was all a playful joke. But inside me something cracked open. You know, loneliness doesn't always appear in silence. Sometimes it happens when 100 voices surround you, glasses raised, laughter spilling while you sit invisible. I sat there, my envelope resting against the linen tablecloth, and realized no one was going to defend me. Not a single relative. Not a friend. So I smiled. Thin, controlled, the kind of smile that says, I will remember this. I didn't argue. I didn't shout. I didn't ask why. People expect tears or a scene. I gave them none. Instead, I folded that envelope back into my jacket. The music swelled, cameras flashed, and the champagne flowed. My partner basked in the glow of admiration while I sat like a shadow. But what they didn't know was this. I had been preparing for storms long before this night, years of saving, years of discipline, years of telling myself to wait until the right moment. If humiliation was their gift to me, revenge would be mine. I'll explain in a moment. For now, tell me, where are you watching from? And hit subscribe because this story is only getting darker. After the graduation night, the laughter lingered in my ears like a bad song. I went back to our apartment, still smelling faintly of wine and perfume, and sat alone at the kitchen table. The envelope lay there, opened now, the official letter from the bank staring at me. Balance cleared 0. I should have felt relief, triumph even. Instead, I felt hollow. I had carried that debt for nearly a decade, paid it down with discipline, overtime hours, skipped vacations, and modest dinners. And yet the moment of freedom was stolen, overshadowed by a smug announcement about a self-discovery trip with an old flame. The next morning, they moved through the apartment, humming, buying yoga mats, online booking, spa appointments. They called it preparing for enlightenment. I just nodded. That was my role. Nod, smile, stay quiet. But inside, I was cataloging everything, every piece of furniture that was mine, every bill under my name, every account untouched by their hands. I transferred the remainder of my savings to a new account that they didn't know existed. It was easy. I had always handled the money. Then I called the law office my grandparents once trusted. I still remember the calm voice of the secretary. Yes, your trust is intact. $1.2 million in real estate and securities. We can activate full access with your signature. I signed that same afternoon. Walking out of the office, I felt the winter air cut my face sharp and bracing. For the first time in months, maybe years, I breathed easily. Meanwhile, they packed. 2 weeks of meditation, journaling, and supposedly silence with their ex. They strutted around the apartment like a performer rehearsing lines. They kept repeating, don't make this weird. This is about me. I said nothing. Words were wasted on someone rehearsing lies. The day before they left, an accident happened, a small one, but telling. A notification popped up on the shared laptop, an email draft unsent. It was addressed to the ex. The subject line read, Our future together. The first lines made my throat burn. When this is over, we'll have our place finally. Lena doesn't suspect a thing. They had meant to save it privately. They left it wide open for me. I closed the laptop gently. No anger, no confrontation. I had already seen enough. That night, I drove them to the airport. They kissed me on the cheek before boarding, whispering, 2 weeks will fly by. I nodded, watched them disappear into the crowd. The second they were gone, I drove straight to the storage unit I had rented in secret. I had boxes labeled furniture measured. I was ready. But what they didn't know was this: the apartment lease carried only my name. All the utilities, every receipt, every contract mine. They had lived under my roof for 8 months without ever signing a line. Their journey had just begun. So had mine. The morning after their plane took off, I called the moving company. By noon, cardboard boxes stacked in the hallway like soldiers waiting for orders. I moved with quiet precision. Years of organizing spreadsheets had trained me for this moment. Every item had a category, mine, theirs shared. And yet, when I looked closely, I realized that almost everything worth keeping bore my name on the receipt. The couch, I had bought it when I landed my first promotion. The dining table, a gift from my grandparents. Even the succulent plants on the windowsill, which they paraded online as part of their calming aesthetic, were mine. I had paid for each one. 2 days later, the apartment was bare of anything that belonged to me. I left their belongings stacked neatly in the living room, labeled with sticky notes. I even left the electricity on out of courtesy. I wanted them to see clearly what they had lost. By the third day, I was in my new house, a modest brick place on the edge of town, deeded in my name alone. The keys felt heavy in my pocket, like a promise I had finally earned. I unpacked slowly, breathing in the silence. No humming, no lectures about chakras or inner journeys. Just me, a kettle boiling, and the sound of my own footsteps echoing across the hardwood. I sat at the kitchen counter with the deed in front of me, my name printed in black ink, ownership undisputed. I ran a finger along the embossed notary stamp. That stamp meant freedom. But freedom doesn't come without shadows. 2 nights later, while scrolling through my phone, I stumbled on their Instagram. There they were smiling in loose linen clothes, posing beside their ex under a banner that read Retreat of Renewal. The caption, "Finding peace with someone who truly understands me." The comments were full of heart emojis, cheers, applause from strangers who didn't know the script. I stared at the screen, my lips curling into a quiet smile. They thought they were writing a story of love and rebirth. What they didn't know was that the final chapter wasn't theirs to write. I closed the app, slid the phone aside, and opened my laptop. Bank account secured, trust fund activated, house mine. Every move was already in place. The world believed their tale of healing. Soon the world would learn the truth. But I'll tell you that part later. 5 days into their so-called retreat, the silence broke. I was sipping tea in my kitchen when my phone lit up with a notification, a live stream request. I almost ignored it until I saw the name, my partner. Against better judgment, I tapped it open. Their face filled the screen, tear-streaked and frantic. Behind them, an unfamiliar hotel room. They abandoned me, they sobbed into the camera. After everything I gave, Lena just disappeared. Packed up and vanished like I was nothing. Do you know how cruel that is? Who does that? Thousands of viewers piled in. Comments scrolled faster than I could read. Some offered sympathy, others asked what really happened. My stomach clenched, but then I noticed something: the likes were few. The skeptical emojis plenty. Because in another tab, screenshots were already circulating. Emails, texts, tagged photos. The ex's current partner, someone named Madison, had posted on social media. A fiery thread accused them both of sneaking off together, of staging this retreat as a lover's getaway. Madison had receipts, screenshots of late-night messages, bank transfers for plane tickets, even a picture of them on the beach, arms wrapped around each other. The retreat narrative collapsed overnight. I didn't need to lift a finger. The internet did it for me. By Thursday, the gossip pages had picked up the story. MBA graduate caught in love triangle, the headlines screamed. Memes followed. One showed my partner in meditation pose, captioned "Inner Peace, Outer Chaos." Another had side-by-side images, my quiet financial records versus their wild declarations of betrayal. The comparison was brutal and viral. Then came the family dinner. It was meant to be a celebration for my cousin's promotion, but I knew the evening would turn. And I wasn't wrong. Halfway through dessert, they arrived, uninvited face, pale eyes, burning with desperation. They marched straight to me, ignoring the startled relatives, and slammed a hand on the table. "You think you can erase me?" they hissed loud enough for the whole room. "Without me, you're nothing. Nobody cares about a boring financial analyst with no soul." Forks froze, glasses trembled, my aunt gasped. I sat still, napkin folded neatly in my lap. Then slowly I looked up. The weight of their words was meant to crush me, but it only clarified what needed to happen next. Because what they didn't know was this I had prepared a reveal, and I would not waste it. The room went silent after their outburst. The only sound was the faint clinking of a spoon against porcelain, someone nervously stirring coffee. All eyes were on me waiting. For years I had been the quiet one, the listener, the one who nodded instead of speaking. That night I decided to break the pattern. I smoothed the folds of my jacket and carried my laptop to the sideboard. If you want the truth, I said, voice steady, let's give everyone the full picture. I opened the lid connected to the small projector my cousin used for work presentations and let the screen glow across the dining room wall. First came a video, my attorney seated behind a polished oak desk speaking directly to the camera. By the authority of the estate of Margaret and Charles Whitmore, he began. We confirm that the trust fund valued at $1.2 million is legally and solely designated to their granddaughter Lena. Gasps rippled around the table. A few relatives leaned forward, mouths open. My partner's face drained of color. I clicked to the next slide, the deed to my house, my name printed in thick black ink, notarized and sealed. Then the bank letter confirming my student loans had been cleared with my own savings. Every document was time-stamped, irrefutable, airtight. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't need to. The evidence spoke louder than any argument. They stammered. This doesn't mean anything. We built this life together. Built, I interrupted, finally letting the years of silence sharpen into words. You built illusions. I built stability. And you tried to trade loyalty for weekend retreats and empty promises. My cousin's child whispered, "What's happening?" and was quickly hushed. But everyone else knew exactly what was happening. A reckoning. Then came the final slide. A credit report. Their name highlighted with lines of red text, delinquent accounts, unpaid balances, late fees stacking like bricks on a sinking ship. I hadn't planned to show it, but after their speech about me being nothing, I wanted the family to see the full truth. The silence broke not with sympathy, but with laughter, quiet at first, then louder. A few uncles chuckled, shaking their heads. Someone muttered, "All that talk, and no credit to your name." Their eyes burned with tears, rage, shame. "You set me up," they accused, voice cracking. "No," I said softly, closing the laptop. "You set yourself up. I just decided to stop cleaning up after you." They fled the dinner table, muttering curses under their breath. Phones were already out recording, snapping photos. By morning, clips would be online, replayed 1,000,000 times, captioned with phrases like, "The analyst wins," and "Don't mess with Lena." My revenge wasn't loud. It was deliberate, precise, and final. And it was only the beginning. By dawn the next day, the clips from the family dinner had gone viral. Someone had uploaded the projector reveal with the caption, "When the quiet one brings receipts." Within hours, it spread across platforms, millions of views, thousands of comments. People dissected every frame, the attorney's video, the deed, the credit report, my steady tone, against their desperate shouting. Strangers weighed in as though they'd been there themselves. Lena played chess while the other one played checkers. This is how you do revenge with facts, not fists. Others turned it into memes. My calm face under the words I found myself too, their angry face beneath, "Where's my credit score?" Meanwhile, my phone buzzed relentlessly. Texts from coworkers, old classmates, even distant cousins I hadn't spoken to in years. Some congratulated me, others begged for the full story. I ignored most of it. Attention wasn't the goal, closure was. Still, I couldn't deny the satisfaction of watching their curated image crumble in real time. And crumble it did. By Monday, they were jobless. Their employer had seen the viral clips and decided someone with that kind of scandal wasn't fit for client-facing work. The ex had vanished, blocked them across every channel. Madison, the ex's real partner, posted one final thread exposing private messages, every manipulative promise, every lie. Screenshots flooded the internet. They tried to fight back with their own live stream. I watched silently as they rambled about betrayal, about being abandoned with nothing. Tears streaked down their face, but the audience wasn't sympathetic anymore. Comments flew by. "You did this to yourself. Stop blaming Lena. Where's the $1,000,000 inheritance you bragged about?" The humiliation cut deeper than any words I could have offered. They weren't just a villain in my story anymore. They'd become a spectacle for the world. I received one last call from their mother. Her voice was brittle. "How could you embarrass them like this? Family should protect each other." I listened patiently, then answered, "Family doesn't announce betrayal at a graduation party. Family doesn't write secret emails about a future with someone else. If you call that family, then I've been an orphan for years. And I ended the call. Later that evening, I sat in my new home. The viral chaos hummed outside like a storm, but inside was quiet. I poured tea, spread the deed on the table, and let the notary stamp catch the lamplight. They had tried to strip me down to nothing. Instead, they revealed exactly how much I was worth. And the world agreed. The storm outside never fully stopped. The internet rarely lets anything fade quietly. But within my own walls, peace began to grow. My new house smelled of fresh paint and pine floors. Each room carried my name on the deed, a reminder that every corner belonged to me alone. For the first time in years, I could wake without listening for another person's footsteps. I began each morning with coffee at the kitchen counter, the envelope of cleared loans still tucked in a drawer like a trophy. I checked my accounts, saw the savings sitting securely in the new bank, and knew the trust fund would sustain me for years. I wasn't wealthy by accident. I was stable by design, and stability is its own kind of wealth. Work felt lighter, too. My colleagues treated me differently now, not because of the viral videos, though some whispered, but because I walked in with shoulders straighter, voice stronger. When you stop apologizing for your existence, people notice. Of course, the messages kept coming. Some from strangers begging for advice, others from relatives replaying the dinner story like it was legend. And then there were the emails from them. The first arrived 3 weeks after the dinner. Lena, I made mistakes. I didn't mean to hurt you. Can we talk? I deleted it without replying. Another came a month later, longer, more desperate. I lost everything. No one believes me. Please, you were my anchor. Don't let me drown. I let that one sit in my inbox unopened until it slid down the page, under newer, more important things, work, updates, notes from my lawyer, even casual invitations from colleagues. Life had moved on with or without them. One evening, I walked through the neighborhood watching families on porches, children racing bicycles under the streetlights. I realized how strange it felt to live in a place where no one looked at me with suspicion or judgment. Here I was, just another homeowner, just another person mowing the lawn, carrying groceries, living quietly, and that anonymity felt like a blessing. I did not need to announce revenge anymore. Revenge had done its work. Now came the part that truly mattered, building a life worth keeping. Still, some nights I hear the echo of that graduation toast. Don't worry, you could never understand true ambition. They were right in a way. I never understood their kind of ambition. The ambition that feeds on betrayal, on humiliating the one person who stood beside you. My ambition is quieter, steadier, to protect what is mine, to know my worth, to never let another hand write my story again. And so I folded the past away like a document stamped and filed. My new beginning had already started. But one last chapter remained. The story of betrayal and revenge usually ends with applause from the crowd. But when the dust settles, you're left with silence, and silence demands reflection. I often think back to that night in the graduation hall, the clinking glasses, the smirks, the sting of humiliation in front of family and friends. That single moment might have broken me if I had not already built the scaffolding of discipline, years of saving, of working late, of refusing to let debt define me. It wasn't luck that saved me, it was preparation. What struck me most wasn't their betrayal. Betrayal, after all, is as old as human history. It was the ease with which they dismissed me, as if I were furniture in the background of their story. Without me, you're nothing. That line still rings like a curse, but I wear it differently now, because sometimes being treated as nothing gives you the freedom to rebuild into something stronger. The inheritance from my grandparents gave me security, yes, but more than that, it gave me perspective. Wealth without wisdom is fragile. Ambition without loyalty is poison. And families who measure worth only in appearances eventually choke on their own performance. I see them now only through news articles and fragmented posts. They drift from couch to couch, chasing sympathy that never lasts. Some say I should pity them. Maybe I should. But pity is a luxury I no longer spend. Instead, I invest my time in peace. The garden I planted behind my house, the books stacked beside my bed, the small dinners with colleagues who value conversation over spectacle. My revenge was never meant to destroy them, it was meant to reclaim me. And that I achieved. If you have ever been humiliated, betrayed, or written off as nothing, know this dignity can be rebuilt. Sometimes it starts with something as small as an envelope on a table, a notary stamp on a deed, or the decision to walk away without looking back. So here I am telling you the final truth. I did find myself, and I discovered I deserved better all along. Now it's your turn to weigh in. If you think I made the right choice, comment right. If you believe there was another way, share your idea below. Because stories like this aren't just mine, they belong to every person who has ever been underestimated.